Storytelling is the most important thing in personal branding, because if a person doesn't have a story, if a person doesn't have a narrative, it's not gonna work. We dig into that person's mental, personal, activities, things, work experience, thoughts, desires, dreams, everything, challenges, failures, success.
What do you think is the meaning of life?
Very tough question.
All right. Hello, guys. Today we have Inessa Manukyan, a LinkedIn connection and founder and CEO of Leadin.
Hi, SADRA. Thank you for having me in your podcast.
Of course. How are you?
I'm great. Being here, ready to talk with you, ready to share with you some insights. And basically, this is my second in-person podcast. So I'm very excited.
Amazing. Well, let's dive into it. So the first question that I have is, you moved to Canada just 6 months ago after 28 years of building networks elsewhere. What prompted this major life transition, and what's been the most unexpected challenge in rebuilding your professional community from scratch?
That's a great question to start with, honestly. So how I end up with being in Canada, basically it's personal matter. It's a personal thing. I got married and my husband lives here, so I had to relocate. And we're just building our life here together in Canada. But there is this professional ambition too, because for 28 years, I have lived in Armenia. I have built my network, grown my network. I have gotten my education in Armenia and have all my friends. And basically, I've built my reputation there. And now being here in Canada, I kind of feel sometimes that I have to do it from the scratch. And I felt very confident before moving here. I was like, it's going to be so easy because I know how to do things. But then I found that I underestimated the emotional aspect of everything. Because in a few months, I found myself in an emotionally bad situation, trying to understand what's going on, trying to understand how I should do things. And, being in a diverse city as Vancouver, because Vancouver is super diverse, it's sometimes so hard, though it feels very easy. Because I have to go through circles, meet people where everyone knows each other, but no one knows me. And that has been the hardest part, because I had to find people, but not just people, because Vancouver is so diverse. I had to find the right people for me, the right people who would resonate with my values, with my thoughts, opinions, and everything, my vision. So the journey has been very, very hard, honestly, because I was thinking it's just emotionally so devastating to understand who am I. I basically started to identify my real self. I started to understand who am I, what are my values, what I want to do, what I have done for these last 28 years. But when you have a vision, when you have the ambition, it's getting better and better. So I do feel more confident now. I do feel more settled. And yeah, it has been very hard, but it's getting better.
What are the main differences that you right away noticed when you made that transition?
There are lots of differences because Armenia and Canada are very different. First of all, the cultural differences. Armenia is so mono-ethnic. There are maybe 90% Armenians living there. And Vancouver, Canada is so diverse. It's so multinational. There's so many different people and nationalities living here. So the most challenging part was that I'm not hearing my native language here. And although my education has been completely in English, I am not really speaking in Armenian much here. That's the most challenging part, because sometimes you really want to express yourself in your native language, right? The time difference, that has been the most challenging, because I do have my own agency, which has been founded in Armenia, and I do have my team working in Armenia, and I had to make this transition from a country to another country where there is a 12-hour difference. So I would wake up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and I would go to the bathroom because my husband was sleeping, so I could talk with my team, I could talk with my clients, and every time I would just come back and say, okay, this is not possible. I can't do this for on a long-term basis. It's just impossible. But during the time, I also got adapted. I found the ways, the system, how to make sure everything goes smooth and works smoothly while I'm sleeping and the team is working, and then vice versa. The team is sleeping and I work. So we joke sometimes that the agency is working 24/7. But yeah, the time difference is really very challenging. Other than that, there are some differences in like doing the business, right? Trying to communicate with people, trying to understand what they want, because the people in Armenia, the clients are much different than the people in Canada, and you have to adapt, you have to be more flexible. And yeah.
You touched on the differences between those clients. Can you maybe dive deeper on maybe is it a cultural quality that the Armenian people have and engraved through hundreds of years of being an Armenian, or how would you differentiate the two?
Armenians are super hardworking. They're very hardworking, and yeah, the qualities are different. The cultural differences are huge, and Armenia, like mostly Eastern European countries, they want you to be the best. If they decide to work with you, if they choose you, you have to be the best, And it's sometimes so hard to be the best because you have competitors, there are people who are doing the same work, and you really have to work always to get better and better, improve, because your client wants you to be the best. Here, I do believe people are mostly focusing on different things. They do not consider vulnerability as a weakness. They are more focused on, the values, on the stories behind authenticity. So it depends, I cannot say which one is better, because the first one challenges you always to be better. The second one gives you the opportunity to be more open-minded and look at things from different perspective. But obviously there are differences and you have to adapt.
So the whole reason you came to Canada was because of your husband.
Exactly.
And so sort of diving into that, how did you guys meet, and how does I'm thinking like at the beginning was long term, or long distance, and then you guys made the move. So how does that look like?
He came all through the continents just to find me and meet me. No, I'm joking. We met at a wedding of a mutual friend. Armenian friends who both live in Canada, and they came to do their wedding in Armenia. So they invited my husband too. He came and we met. We met in an Armenian church for the first time. And yeah, we grew our relationship.
And here we are.
Yeah, so here we are.
Amazing. So you started your agency back in Armenia called Leadin.
Yes.
Can you touch on the backstory of why did you even start an agency from scratch, and how has the progress been over the years?
I've always been this active, dynamic girl, a person who always wanted to make a change, who always wanted to do something different. I would go to work every day and I would question, why are we working from 9 to 6? And then the COVID started. We started to work remotely, and I said, oh, see, it's possible to work from home. And even though I have always been working full time, since I was 18 years old, I've always had something like a hustle. I would always do something else, be it freelance stuff or starting a business and failing. And then when I just became the head of digital marketing section in the telecom company where I was working, although before that, actually, I had this idea that I want to do something. So my educational background is business and marketing, but I was 100% sure I don't want to start a digital marketing agency because the market is so full. I didn't know what other value I was going to bring to the market, because I was admiring all the agencies, both local and international, that existed before. And I just started like performing on LinkedIn, like growing my personal account on LinkedIn, and it was working so well. And then I started to grow the LinkedIn account of the general manager of the company I was working in. And I felt, wow, this is really cool. And I can really work with founders and entrepreneurs and C-suite executives and help them to build their authority and voice on LinkedIn. And this is how this idea was born, I felt so comfortable because I told to myself, if I start something I don't feel 100% comfortable, or I don't believe what I'm doing, because I had this experience before. I just started just to start a business because I wanted to have the business. So I said, if I don't feel this way, I'm not doing anything. And when I had the idea of leading, I had lots of coaches with whom I basically advised, because I wanted to make sure I'm doing something really valuable and something good, because at that time I was just finishing my MBA. So I completely felt that this is what I want to do. And it's been almost 2 years, maybe 1.5 years that I've started the agency. I still have the passion. I know I want to do more, and I want to focus on personal branding because that's what resonates with my vision, with my interests, and I'm passionate about it.
Hey, real quick, if you're still here, clearly you have found value, so I'm asking you for a quick favor. Right now, over 99% of people are not subscribed. It takes 2 seconds by hitting subscribe and like, and it tells the platforms this is worth spreading. And that helps us bring even better guests and continue delivering high quality content. Also, if you know just one person who would get value from this, send it to them right now. That's how this grows. It's person to person, not ads or algorithms. So, like, subscribe, and share this with someone you care about. It means a lot, and it truly makes all the difference. All right, back to the video.
So you said you have coaches.
At the moment, I do not, though I try to always have valuable connections, to have valuable conversations with people, because it's a little hard to do it from Canada with Armenia. And here I haven't really found yet those people who can support me. But before starting the agency, while living in Armenia, yes, I had.
Yeah, I think LinkedIn is a very good place to connect with people. I started growing my community like 6 months ago, and now I'm like 3,500 followers.
That's great. That's a great result.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, keep going.
Let's go. But I'm guessing you have a team with lead-in.
Yes, of course.
How do you pick and choose your team members? What sort of values do they have to have so that they fit into the overall picture?
This is a great question. Thank you so much for asking this, because this is something I constantly think about, and this is something my vision, my values resonate with this thing, how I should choose people in my team. My team is in Armenia. My full team is in Armenia. Only I am in Canada. So I focus on values. I always say that I can teach the skills, or you guys can just learn the skills from online courses, from university, from just talking to people, but I can never teach values. If the person doesn't have the values that are important for me, that are a priority for me, then I'm not choosing them, full stop. That's it. And the team that I have currently, I have 3 members and me, so we're 4 in-house, and we have outsourced video shooting team, which consists of 3, 4 sometimes people. And all the people that are around me, around the agency, share the same values. All of them are hardworking. All of them are ambitious. So my in-house team consists of only girls. Actually, that wasn't just, something that I was, I should just have girls. I should only have girls in the team. But, it worked out that well, because when I was planning the business, when I was writing my business plan, at the end of the plan, I wrote, women are born to make a difference. And this is how it went. And, only women started to kind of join the team. And I have always ambitious, independent, smart, and hardworking women who believe in the idea of the agency, who believe in the vision of the agency, and who are so passionate about the work that we do together.
That was a good answer.
Thank you.
So you touched on the values being hardworking and some other ones, but how do you tackle conflicts between the team? Has there been any maybe drawbacks, or when they sort of clash, how does the leadership come into play from your side?
I lead by example. I'm never a boss. I'm never a manager, honestly, and I'm sure everyone can certify it. I'm just like them, who is passionate about what we do. You wouldn't believe, but we haven't had any conflicts in the team. Maybe because the team is small yet and the agency is small, because we're like a startup kind of. We're just starting to build it, and we have never had it. One thing that I tell all the team members who join, I say you have to be honest, you have to be authentic, and you have to share anything that's in your mind and in your heart. If you're not happy with the job that you do, just tell me. If you're not happy with your salary, just tell me. If you're not happy with something that's happening, just tell me. If you have a problem, a personal problem, and you can't really work harder, just tell me and we will replace, for example, we will just do your work. And that's how it works, you know? No one is scared, no one is uncomfortable to say, I'm sorry, I can't work today, or I'm sorry, I need a break. This is the environment that I want, because this is what makes me feel comfortable to work. I can tell the team, okay, guys, I'm not feeling very good today. I'm not very productive. I'm not working well. And I will never be afraid that they will take an advantage or they will do the same, like in a different way, in a negative way. You know, this is so important to lead by example. If you want them to be real, if you want them to be hardworking, if you want them to be devoted, you should be the same and you should act the same way. And I'm very happy because I have it today, and I really hope, and I'm actually sure that I will continue this way. And even though the agency will grow and get bigger, and we will have more team members, I'm confident that we will keep this spirit.
100%. You said you had a business plan. I mean, every startup has a business plan at the beginning. Over the 2 years, year and a half to 2 years, how many percentages of that business plan has changed? Because when you do a startup, like, you have a plan laid out, but most of the time, most of it changes. So how has that evolution been to where it's right now?
When you start something, you should be ready that some things might change, some things you have to be agile to just adapt to those changes. When I was writing my business plan, I was 100% sure I'm just doing personal branding. The agency is personal branding agency. That's why it's called Leading Personal Branding Agency. This was something for me too, to make sure I don't change the direction. I don't do something else. But at some point when we started, I didn't have much personal branding clients in Armenia, but since lots of people knew that I'm specialized in digital marketing, they came and they started to offer a partnership, and I accepted, and I had quite a lot of digital marketing clients. So we did digital marketing too. We did branding. We did even commercial shooting. We basically changed a little the direction. Why? Because if you are given the opportunity and you do have that expertise, it's fine, to do that. It's fine. But it's very important also to not change your whole vision. I know that the agency is personal branding, and at the moment I'm doing everything to just stick to it and to grow the personal branding clients. Even we're doing on LinkedIn for entrepreneurs and businessmen and founders. On Instagram, we're doing for doctors, because since most of the digital marketing clients were from the medical sector, we also got specialized in healthcare marketing, medical marketing. So this was a great opportunity for all of us. We learned, we grew, and now we have clients on Instagram, doctors, plastic surgeons, dentists, for whom we perform personal branding.
How do you go about personal branding for an individual? Is there a sequence of steps you follow? Is there a sort of a guideline that you abide by? How do you approach that?
This is another great question, because when you work with a company, you know what's the product, you know what's their expectations, and it's so much easier, you just come up with a marketing strategy, you come up with the KPIs, you just come up with all the visuals, everything, how you're going to present it to the public. But when it comes to person, it's so much harder, it's so much complicated. We always have a framework. Once we start working with a person to grow his authority or to build his authority online, we focus on the framework. We focus on his or her strengths. We focus on his or her narrative. Storytelling is the most important thing in personal branding, because if a person doesn't have a story, if a person doesn't have a narrative, it's not going to work. For some brands, it's fine if they don't have a story or if they don't have a narrative. If they are high quality, if they do something good, at some point those products will generate their target or their audience. But for people, if you do not really have a narrative, if you don't know who you are, it's not gonna work. So we try to find that framework. We dig into that person's mental, personal, like activities, things, work experience, thoughts, desires, dreams, everything, challenges, failures, success. And we try to build this image for us to understand who that person is, so that we can basically present him or her to the public.
Quite complicated.
It is honestly very complicated, because you deal a lot with the psychology. You should understand how to stay authentic and how to make sure you don't really mess up with that person's thing, because you deal with a person, and if you write something wrong or if you present something wrong, it might harm his reputation. So this is really risky. There is a lot of PR component, there is a lot of psychology component. We will definitely talk about the psychological aspect, because that's the most important part of personal branding.
Well, can you linger into the psychology of it?
Yes, sure. Before starting the agency, I never thought I'm interested in psychology, but I basically had a very good, smart manager when I was working, and I was in my 20s. He told me psychology is the basis of everything. It's the basis of business. If you do not know psychology, you cannot deal with people, and subsequently you cannot achieve any success in your career, be it in a corporate world or starting your own business. If you do not know how psychology works, if you don't know what that person wants from you, you can't succeed. And I understood what he meant. So psychology is a very important part of personal branding. So if we have a look at Maslow's hierarchy, the pyramid, if you're familiar with it, there are some needs that there is this pyramid, and there are the needs that we experience during our life. I would say that with the rise of internet and AI, those needs have changed, and we are moving towards the up, because on the bottom we have psychological needs, we have the safety and security needs, like having a job, generating money, and then comes the love and belonging, finding friends, finding a life partner, and the two last ones are the different ones. It's when you kind of complete all these three needs and you have nothing to complete anymore. You're fine with your life partner, your friends, your money that you generate, you're happy. And then here comes the self-esteem and self-actualization. And this is when we meet our clients. So a person should be confident that he wants to build his authority. He wants to build his reputation. And self-actualization means that you want to be the best version of yourself, And this is how the personal branding starts. This is where the personal branding starts. I have the experience, I have the knowledge, I have all these things gathered and in me, and I want to show it to the public. I want to build something out of my name. And it's so important to understand where this I want to be the best version of me coincides with all the other aspects that person has, his skills, his knowledge, what kind of a person he is, what kind of values he has. All this just goes into this pyramid, and psychology just is the core of personal branding.
You painted a very nice picture. And the follow-through question that I have is, who are the top 3 people in this world that have, in your opinion, built a magnificent personal brand that you maybe look up to?
I love Huffington. I admire her, honestly. I love 𝐬𝐬. Like, really, his personal brand is so authentic. And when I watch his podcast, I can definitely feel that this person is so real. And that's the most important thing when building your personal brand, to just be there, to be present, and without doing anything, to have people see your authenticity, to feel that you're real. I love Ray Dalio. He's so smart and he's so active on LinkedIn, and he shares so much important things in a very comprehensive way to the public, to the audience, so that everyone can understand these core elements of our life, of our existence, and of doing business. It's important to resonate with people, and it's so important to be as comprehensive as possible, because we don't want to show that, hey, we're ambitious, we're smart, we know all these concepts, we can do this, we can do that. It's important to make sure that you can give the benefit, you can give the value to the people, and you should just be comprehensive to the bigger audience, so that everyone can understand you and everyone can understand your knowledge and your expertise that you have.
You mentioned authenticity. Can you
That's the buzzword.
Could you break down what kind of person to right now to be more authentic, or what kind of practices to be made?
The more LinkedIn grows, the more common this word becomes. Everyone is just talking about authenticity, be authentic. I actually have lots of posts about this, but that's the truth. You have to be authentic. What is authenticity? It's me sitting with you, talking with you, and going back home and talking to my husband or talking to my mom. I'm honestly the same person. I'm just talking the way I am with you, and I'm talking the way I am with my mom. Maybe I might do a little more jokes with my mom, or be, more open with her or with my husband, but I am who I am. I'm the same Inessa in all contexts, in any setting, This is authenticity. When I share on LinkedIn, posts, it's all about my story, my real story, all my success and failures I've been through, all the emotional aspects. I have a post where I just shared about being in Canada, feeling lonely, feeling left out. That's what I feel, and I'm sharing it with people. I'm not scared that people will know more about me, or I'm not scared if people will find my vulnerabilities, or I'm not scared that people will, find what I'm going through. I'm authentic, and I know that if I want to be active on LinkedIn, if I want to grow my audience, I have to be real with that audience. They should believe, and that's what I'm doing. Authenticity is really, really important, because if you're not true to yourself, first of all, and if you're not true to your audience, it's not going to work on a long-term basis. It might work for a few months, maybe even a few years, but not longer.
Yeah, they'll see through it eventually.
Of course, people are smart. We're living in a century where everything is just so easy to understand. Even though everyone is so focused on this AI, it's just replacing people. People will not be smart enough. No, that's not true. People use all this technology to become smarter. And it's not that easy to trick people. They understand. They definitely will understand who you are.
Well, eventually my worldview is that we will coexist, and there will be a chip like Neuralink, which Elon Musk is creating, that the AI will be a part of us, our day-to-day life. But then up to that point, we just have a smarter being coexist with us, and all of us have access to that. So what makes each person different becomes less unique, in my opinion. Do you have to say anything about that?
What makes each person different makes him unique?
Yes, so currently we are very unique. We have different past experiences and different DNA per se, but if all of us have the same access eventually to the same central intelligence that is a part of us, maybe a chip, or I see that future, then that uniqueness actually gets diluted to a degree.
Well, yeah, obviously, if everyone has the same mindset, has the same thoughts, or acting in the same way, yeah, there is no uniqueness. It's just a pattern. It's just, all black or all white. And it's the most the worst thing that can happen to the humanity, making them lose their uniqueness, because that's what basically makes us valuable. You know, when there are so many personal branding agencies, but there is always this demand, you know, because everyone's story is different, everyone is unique. Even if you and me start to be active the same way on LinkedIn, start to post the same things on LinkedIn, the results are going to be so different. The audiences are going to be so different because our narratives are different. Yeah, if the narratives become the same, yeah, we lose just the meaning of life, you know? Our story makes us unique and our narrative makes us different and special. That's why I'm saying that I don't really work with clients who don't have a story, who don't have a narrative, because it's impossible to make them stand out within that audience. It's so hard to say, hey, I'm better at this, or I'm better at this thing, or, you know, you should follow me. How are you gonna say that this person is worth following if he doesn't have his own story? So it's really important that everyone has his story. You just have to dig into it and find out what's your story, what's your narrative, you know?
You've mentioned LinkedIn posts and Instagram posts. Do you structure your posts in a unique way? Like, is there this section that follows these guidelines, the next section that follows these guidelines, and what is the core difference between these two platforms as well?
Sure, of course. It's structural manipulation, which only makes it easier for the user or for the reader to understand what you say. Because if you write all in one paragraph, even though it's very important, no one is going to read because it's not appealing to the eyes. And if I'm on LinkedIn and I'm just scrolling down, I choose what to read, right? You cannot force me. Because if I'm like a student and I have to read the book, even though it's like written like this small or it's just one paragraph, I have to read it because that's what I should do. But if I'm on LinkedIn and I choose myself what to read, you should make it so appealing. You should make it structured. You should use the guidelines. You should use some manipulations, emojis, icons, bold text to make it just easier for the reader. That's the only thing why I do use some structures, and I always share it with people. Use this, try using this, because the story doesn't change from that. I mean, the story is still mine. We can use the same structure. We can use the same emojis, the same icons, the same fonts, but the content is already different. The story is different. So yeah, it's very important. On Instagram, I don't really do a personal branding for myself. I just post on Instagram some personal stuff, like more entertaining stuff, because I don't see myself on Instagram on that platform. For me, LinkedIn is my work platform, is the platform where I want to share with people, I want to resonate. So on Instagram, I don't have a goal of building an audience, you know, it's just for friends, it's just for people I know. That's why I don't really focus on just structuring and everything. But for the clients, of course, again, on Instagram, people love the visuals. They love the videos, the reels, the posts, the carousels, the photos. That's why it's much harder to structure and to write longer text. On LinkedIn, I can. The other day, I had this long post for my client with no photo, and it went viral. It had more than 15,000 impressions. You know, and on Instagram, you can't do that and have great results because people want to see the visual.
Is there any like don't do's, or is there like red lines that you shouldn't cross on LinkedIn that you've noticed based on past experience, or is there like quick tips that you could give right now for the audience listening that if they follow, they may get more engagement per se?
It's very hard to say because there are no like rules or like, you know, red lines or whatever, the borders, you know. If honestly, if you have a story, if you have the narrative, it's gonna work even if you just write a simple text post or you make a video. And this is exactly, I'm planning to write a post about this, that some people nowadays think that posting photos on LinkedIn makes it the post more engaging or brings you more followers. No, I'm really Sorry to disappoint people, but it's not that way. I have had this for my clients. I have the proof. I know how it works. If you give this real, authentic story, even without a photo, it works. It works even better than with a photo because sometimes the photo distracts. It's all about what you want to share. But obviously, I can say that I have shared lots about the LinkedIn tips. Nowadays, since it's more competitive, because before a few years ago there were not many people on LinkedIn posting and building, but now it's very, very super competitive, and lots of people are asking me what should we do, what kind of content should we write, so people follow us or we engage with our posts. I would definitely recommend on having a content calendar, first of all. If you decide to start from June to be consistent on LinkedIn and post, let's say every day, you should have a content calendar, because if you don't have it, 100% it's not going to work. Like, you are very motivated, you're very passionate on day one, and you say, oh, I'm ready to post every day. On day 5th, you lose your motivation because something happens. You're not in a mood, or your best friend comes and visits you and you just, you're not. It's not the right time for LinkedIn. But once you have this content calendar and you spend this 1 hour or 2 hours on generating the main ideas or the content, then you can be sure that you're gonna consistently posting on LinkedIn. And consistency is number one thing on LinkedIn. Some of my clients say, oh, you really want us to post every day? I'm like, yeah, I want you to post every day, because there is this psychological concept called mere exposure effect. If you're not appearing frequently, people are not going to remember you and they will not connect with you. So I would say content calendar, so you can be more consistent and post almost every day. And identifying your topics. What are your number 3 most important topics that you just want to talk about every day? This is very important, because at some point, you meet lots of people, you can have lots of interests, and you like, oh, I can talk about everything. I can talk about business, I can talk about psychology, I can talk about celebrities, I can talk about food, I can talk about hospitality. Yeah, that's great that you can talk about all of this. You're very smart, but you are not allowing your audience to remember you based on that one aspect or that one thing that makes you different from others. That's why it's so important to understand what is your one topic, or what are the 3 topics that you want to talk about all the time on LinkedIn. So I would recommend to start with this 3: consistency, content calendar, and the topics. And then we can just dig into more and discuss more tips if you want.
That's amazing. I don't want to put you on the spot, give out all the secrets, because
I'm ready to share, because last month I had this first personal branding on LinkedIn event in Vancouver, which was very successful, and I partnered with a friend living in Canada whom I met during a networking event, and we had this event. So I shared almost everything with people. All these tips, all the templates, everything.
It's interesting to me. There have been, that's what I've noticed, have been 2 different approaches into running a business. Some are trade secret and don't want to share, but some are so willing to give value all the time. Why have you chosen the latter? Why have you chosen to give value at all times and be sort of, I guess, more authentic with your work and share it?
Because giving back is important for me. I've always been this type, even when I was doing my bachelor's, then I was doing my MBA. I have studied in Prague, Austria, and Ireland. I had all this knowledge, I had all this expertise, and I wanted to share it with people because they didn't have this chance to study, or they didn't have this chance to be in my shoes. And I just want to share with them. Why not? It's not about being scared of a competition, or being scared that, oh, if I share my secrets, I will lose my values, or if I share my secrets, this person will be better than me, or if I share the secrets, some person, you will go and open a personal branding agency tomorrow. No, I'm not scared of that because I know my strengths, I know my knowledge, I know my skills. I know what kind of client, what type of clients want to work with me. I know what I want to do, so I don't see any risk. Why wouldn't I share? If I can give you a value, if I can give a value to a person, if I can motivate him to start posting on LinkedIn because that's what he needs at this moment, why would I keep it to me? I really don't see any risk, or I don't see anything unless it's a confidential. Like if it's a confidential thing about clients, I never expose it, obviously. But if it's something that I have found out, if it's something that I have researched, then I'm more than happy to share.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I hope everyone embodies that, because it's so powerful to give value and help a fellow other. Like if someone is watching right now and because of that, it changes the course of their life, like that's what we ask for really at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Remote work has transformed entrepreneurship. You mentioned it's been a dream that comes with unexpected loneliness. What strategies have you developed to maintain connection and creativity while working remotely?
As I mentioned in the beginning, I've always worked full-time from the office, but I've always wanted to work remotely from home, to have more flexibility. And this is what happened during the COVID. During the COVID, when we started to work from home, I definitely had more chance, more opportunity, and more time to spend with my family, with my loved ones. I would see my grandmother every day. I would just, use this flexibility to not stress out about things that are happening in the corporate environment when you visit the office every day, but I would just use this time more proactively and productively. I would focus on my work, and then the time that I had, I would just spend on either growing my skills or learning new things, or just, as I mentioned, spending time with my family, honestly. But when I came here and I basically worked from home because all my team, all my clients are in Armenia currently, I felt this loneliness, but I believe it's not purely related to the remote aspect of the work. It's also because I'm in Canada. Most of my friends and family are in Armenia, so this somehow makes me feel lonely sometimes. But what I have done is I have created my own routine every day, what I want to do, not to feel lonely and be motivated to work, because especially when people, the team, the clients are sleeping, I kind of lose my motivation and productivity to work because there is no one to share things, no one to discuss or brainstorm. And here is what I'm doing. Perhaps I have been to more than 40 coffee shops. So I visit coffee shops frequently. I just want to go visit and see people like me working on their laptops, doing some work. This motivates me. Then I make sure that once a week, I always connect with a valuable person and have a valuable conversation. This is very important for me. This keeps me very motivated. And this loneliness kind of goes away.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact is that nowadays we seem so much more connected because of social media and internet, but the stats actually say that the generations are becoming more and more lonely because they don't have that authentic in-person connection and communication that they used to have.
I agree. I completely, totally agree with this. That's why when I came here first and I didn't have the network, I didn't have anyone except of my husband and a few friends, I felt so lonely and emotionally so devastated. And I right away, since I was always very active, networking person kind of in Armenia, I was like, okay, how I was doing it in Armenia, I'm just gonna replicate it and I'm gonna do it the same way. So I found out some networking events, I found some circles, networking clubs where I can attend and meet people, like-minded people, and this is how it works. I love staying alone with myself, and honestly, it's a strength, it's a power, because people hate being alone with themselves, and there are lots of studies about that when people are left alone in a room without a phone, they just go crazy because they don't know what to do. They start overthinking, they start they stay alone with their thoughts, which is very hard, very difficult. So here in Canada, I had the time to do that. That's why I said that I found my true self. I identified who am I, because I was alone with my thoughts, with my feelings. But, I love that part a lot. But I want to meet people because I get energy from people, because I want to be around them. Especially, I want to meet like-minded people. I want to meet successful people. They basically motivate me. I admire them. And it depends on the personality. There are people who just love being alone, like lonely. They just love staying there with their own stuff, with their own things. There are people who just need to go out. But with social media, I do believe that it's so much easier to stay at home and just be on your phone all day. And then at some point, you feel that the anxiety kind of enters your room, which is a little risky. So I think balancing is the most important thing.
Do you have any techniques that sort of balances that? Like, do you do meditation, for example, 5 to 10 minutes without your phone? Or is there certain hours that you prohibit yourself from going on your phone? Or how do you sort of balance that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whenever I feel, I do meditation, especially at night, and especially when I overthink a lot, which happens quite a lot. But I talk to myself, honestly, a lot. I just speak with my own self. When I'm alone, I want to figure out, why is this thing happening? Why am I sad? Or why am I not doing what I should do? And I start analyzing and I talk loudly. This is a very helpful tip, and this is very helpful thing, because it's so much easier to blame other things like external factors. But when you start talking to yourself and you start analyzing why do things go this way, what you should do to change them, it just opens a completely different new perspective and opportunity for you for self-actualization, basically. I exercise a lot. I swim. I go to the gym. And whenever I don't attend the gym, I feel like my motivation is going down. Whenever I exercise, I can feel I feel more empowered. I feel more motivated. So sport is very important. I try to cut the sweets too, because whenever I eat a lot of sweets, I lose my energy and I don't really have the motivation to do things. These things are so important when you work remotely or you have your own business, because when you go to the office every day, you're forced to go there and you have no other option and alternative, even if you are tired. But when you are working from home and you're not feeling working and you're tired, you just don't work and you're so unproductive. That's why you should always find all these ways and tips to make your spirit strong, to make your body strong, to have this energy. So I also work with my therapist, and I try to always find these sources from where I can generate more energy for me.
Yeah, truly, all these little things do add up.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, the vitamins too. I've never taken seriously this thing about vitamins, but they do all actually affect our mood, our well-being as well.
Which vitamins exactly?
Yeah, I'm taking vitamin D because I always make jokes, especially with my husband. I'm like, oh, I never had knee pain before in Armenia, but since the weather is so humid here, and I don't see much sun, I always have this knee pain. I always feel tired. But of course, I understand that it can be because of adaptation. It can be because, I changed continents. But also, definitely, there is something going on with your body that you should figure it out and understand, because you can't all the time blame you that you're doing something wrong or you're not productive. There should be, if it kind of lasts longer, there should be something else. And it's very important to seek for help, to talk to the doctor, to understand what's going on, to make sure your productivity, doesn't decrease, or you're still, because I'm very passionate. I love doing things, and whenever I lose my productivity, I get sick. I honestly get sick. I feel that, I don't know, I'm losing my worth or I'm doing something wrong. So it's so important for me to always keep my productivity. And once I find the ways, of course, I'm not a robot and it's okay sometimes. I'm not an AI girl, so it's sometimes completely okay to just feel tired, go to sleep, not to work. But I don't like doing this often, so sometimes.
100%.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your LinkedIn post that marketing in Canada needs some improvement. Noting there is room for creativity and fresh ideas, what specific technological innovations do you see transforming marketing in North American markets?
Very good question. This is the first, I think the second or third month of me being here that I noticed this. And especially, I live in Vancouver, so, I can't give any critical feedback about other cities. But I do believe that hyper-personalization is very important, especially when I walk around and I look at the banners, at ads, at billboards. I can feel that there is a lack of hyper-personalization. And I have been working in telecom for more than 5 years. I haven't resonated with any of the telecoms here. And when I was to choose my telecom company, there was nothing like that would tell me, oh, you should choose A over B because A is doing this and B is doing that, It's not about the products anymore. It's about the emotional aspect. It's about the personalization. It's about making a person choose you based on his or her values and feelings. I think this is very important, and I would love seeing this improvement here. I'll be traveling to the other cities and maybe I'll share with you my insights. But based on my research and my personal subjective research, I would say that I would love to see more personalized ads from different companies, including food industry too, Food industry is so overwhelmed with all these ads and visuals and, banners, slogans. And you really have to understand what your audience, what your customer wants. So maybe mixing hyper-personalization and augmented reality at some point can work to make sure you give very personalized experience to the buyer.
The word personalization, could you dive into that a little more and maybe paint a picture? So what does that look like for a brand?
So let's say I'm giving the example on telecom because that's the closest to my heart industry sector. I see the banner and I feel the emotion. It's a story. It's something that resonates with my feelings. And whenever I have to make my purchase, whenever I have to make that decision, the purchasing decision, I just go back and I remember, I experience those feelings again and I make my decision based on that. So this is how it works. This is very important.
Right. So maybe the feeling of, oh, this will make me look good, or
Exactly. It definitely goes to all other aspects, cosmetics, I don't know, apparel, even food, you know? I think it's really important because nowadays there are so many products and there is so much supply of everything. You have to find, as I'm talking about a personal branding, and I say that there should be the narrative, there should be the storytelling, there should be the authenticity. The same goes to the brands. There should be something that really makes you special and unique.
100%. Yeah, they go sort of hand to hand per se.
Yeah, I think that the brands are using influencers a lot and are using their communities because it's much easier to use them rather than to build your own voice and your own story, right? Because those influencers that have millions of followers have already created their authenticity and their voice. So it's so much easier to use them to resonate with their public. But at some point, you just need to do it yourself. Why not create your own voice as a brand, as a product, and resonate with your audience on your own?
I think that's even more valuable.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because at some point, another competitor might come to the market, might enter the market, and will do the same thing, and it's going to beat you. So it's much better and much stable to work on your own voice to make sure you're strong enough.
What challenges you?
What challenges me? I'll be very honest. My high standards challenge me a lot. I have high standards about things that happen around me, and I have high expectations from my own self. This challenges me a lot because sometimes I find myself in the trap of perfectionism, and I feel that it's just killing me inside. But it also makes me become better. It improves me and makes me become a better version of myself. And as we talked about the self-esteem and self-actualization, I want to be better. I want to be a better version of myself every day, every year, and this challenges me. Of course, there should be some way to know where you should stop, because you can't let it beat you emotionally. But at the same time, if not having this high standards, I would never be the person I am today.
How do you balance the two sides of trying to be a perfection but knowing where to stop? Like, is there a formula that you've thought that works for you?
I just have the loving people around me, my husband, my mom, who just sometimes tell me it's enough. They honestly tell me it's enough of being so perfect. You don't need that. And this kind of stops me, and I start living the moment. I basically reevaluate things, and I understand what is a priority at the moment and what is not. But also this helps me just to dig into the things that are happening around me and to understand it myself. Does it worth it or not? So yeah, I'm very lucky to have people who love me and support me and try to see the real picture sometimes, because when you work hard, you get super subjective, you get super critical, and that's definitely about me. I'm hypercritical, and this really sometimes even hinders you from getting the real result, because you're so focused on this perfect aspect of everything. You just want to make it perfect. Even my team members sometimes they tell me, it's true. It doesn't have to be perfect. Anyways, the outcome is great, but we shouldn't strive for perfectionism.
For visionary founders, they usually have an idea in their mind and they sort of outward that to the team or whatever they do in life. And I think this is sort of a gift that is given. And I have this thought that it doesn't have to be a flaw sometimes, but if you overdo it, obviously, it may be affecting other aspects of life as mentioned. But I think it's a gift that's given not to every person in this world.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. Yeah, there's so many people that are comfortable with everything they have, that, have less aspirations or less ambitious. I've always been this ambitious type, and when I was younger, I would hear more often that being ambitious is a negative thing. But even hearing that has never stopped me, because I knew that it's a good thing. I knew that it's something that's going to help me to build the life that I want.
What are the top 5 most influential advices you've heard in your life?
This is a very interesting question. I should remember. I definitely have lots. Maybe the one that I already told, that I should study psychology and I should focus on psychology a lot, because one day my manager told me, if you don't really know how to connect with people, you will never be able to generate real results, because if you want to make change, you can't do it alone, and you should have people supporting you. For having those people supporting you, you should connect with them. They should like you. They should share your vision. They should understand who you are. And this all goes to connections, to psychology. This is probably the best advice that I got when I was just starting my career. And it has helped me a lot to make a change, to achieve the things that I have, because I've never been this shy type of not speaking up or not saying what I want. I have always spoken up. I have always said, I think we should do this, I think we should do that, we need this change. I've never felt sorry, or I've never felt shy to do that, and this has really helped me to achieve whatever I want today. Another valuable advice that I have been given by my grandmother has been this: invest in education. She has been my source of inspiration, and she's the reason why I have paid so much attention to education, and why I have paid so much attention to continuous education. It's not that I've only done the formal education. I've also done the informal education. I've always been attending some educational clubs, trainings, workshops, not in Armenia, but in different countries. I've always tried to learn something new, and definitely I can confidently state that education is the reason of everything I have today. So that's the most valuable advice that I have, and I keep. I'm sure, and I'm just so confident that every girl should have an education. Every person should have an education, because that's the path to success. That's the path of understanding who you are. And it's not about, just having the education, having the diploma. It's not about that. It's really about finding what you're passionate about and learning it, learning diverse things, trying to challenge yourself, meeting people. So yeah.
And lastly, what do you think is the meaning of life?
What's the meaning of life? Very tough question. Being happy and being present at the moment. Because sometimes when you're obsessed with your perfectionism, or you're obsessed with your career or your success and achievements, you just leave behind the important things, spending more time with family and being present at the moment. I think this is the meaning of life. We all work so hard to be happy, right? We all generate money to be happy. We all just meet people to feel some sort of happiness inside us, and we never understand that the real meaning of life is just to make ourselves feel happy. So once you find it, you just win. And there is this great book, I kind of forgot the name of the author. Yeah, Naval, Ravikant. So I don't know if you have read that book, but I definitely recommend you reading it. He talks about the real, basically, meaning of life. And, money is part of it, but there are the family, health, and happiness that are most important things that we should focus on. And I completely share this vision and ideology. And sometimes when I'm too hard on myself and I'm just trying to work harder, achieve more, do this, do that, I just stop myself and say, am I happy? If the answer is no, then I make a shift, I make a change, because that's the end goal, that's the outcome, to be happy.
Inessa, it was amazing speaking to you.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed our podcast, and I didn't even notice how the time just, it went by fast.
And I wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. I wish you all the best. Good luck. I wish you so many valuable and interesting guests. And I'm gonna follow your path and your journey. I'm sure you're just gonna become better and better. And yeah, I really want to see this podcast succeed. I know you told me in the beginning that monetization is not your goal, or is not your outcome, like end goal. But honestly, I want this podcast to become a big thing.
Wow, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for sticking with us till the end. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future insights. Check out the videos on the screen now for more thought-provoking discussions. Your support means the world to us, and see you guys in the next episode.